Hello, I'm Annabelle.
And I'm Billy, and we're from Confection Perfection in Maidstone, based in Kent.
We're experts in all aspects of cake decorating.
And today we're going to be showing you a bit about marzipan and cake decorating. So to make marzipan figures, we're going to start with something quite simple, so a baby. When you get better, you can move on to more tricky things like grannies and figures to stand on cakes. If I show you how to colour paste first, we use concentrated paste colours rather than liquid colours. The liquid colours tend to make the paste go very soggy, sticky and tacky. The paste colours, because they are so concentrated, they don't change the feeling of your paste, but they do give very good colour results. So if you use a cocktail stick amount, err on the side of caution, especially with flesh colour. This one is a paste called paprika, which we've already added, so it would just be a cocktail stick amount in there and then knead it through till it's nice and evenly distributed. And then once you've coloured all your paste, you can begin your modelling. Now to do heads, we prefer using a head mould. It gives consistently good results. If you haven't got one of these, you can just roll a ball, indent some eyes, put some icing in there and then add a nose on as well. But the head mould, they really are useful. So you want to use a bit of icing sugar if your paste is starting to stick, but knead it till it's nice and soft, roll it into a smooth round ball. If there are any cracks in your paste when you start, when it dries, they will just get bigger, so you do have to make sure there aren't any cracks. So before you put your ball into the mould, dust it with icing sugar again, so that it definitely doesn't stick. Push the paste into the mould and use your fingers. Now, if it's got ears, just ease the paste in with your fingers and that way, and then down into the neck as well. Now the back of the head needs to be the shape of a head, so it's bigger at the top and then narrow at the back. So if you just manoeuvre it with your finger, give it a narrower bit at the bottom and then wider at the top. Make sure all the paste is within the lines, and then when you turn it out, you've got a face. Now to attach these into a model, they do have to be dry first, so I'd get these prepared in advance. If you use a strand of raw spaghetti, you can use cocktail sticks, but obviously they really aren't edible, so you have to tell people not to eat it. The raw spaghetti is fine to use, but again, you have to tell people, so definitely take it out before they're going to cut the cake. No children or old people to eat it. And you can just leave that to dry. Now, the rest of the baby, if you knead your paste to make the body until it's nice and smooth round ball. And if you put more pressure on one side of your hands and just taper the ball so it's in a dumpy pear shape, so something like that. Now you won't see the body, so it doesn't really matter what colour you do it, and it doesn't matter too much what shape it is, but you do want it vaguely like that. So set that on the table. Now to make feet, you've got two smaller sized balls of paste. Roll those till they're nice and smooth. You want to flatten them down with your fingers, narrow it at one end, and if you just curve it a little bit, you can curve it around your finger or around a cell stick. And you can just glue that to the front of baby's body and do the same again. So just curve that round. And glue that on the front. Now to make baby's blanket, it needs to be quite thin. So you just roll it out nice and firmly. Use a palette knife. If it's stuck slightly to the cellophane, you can use a tiny palette knife just to ease it off. If you dust the surface with corn flour just to make sure it's not going to stick down there. Now you can sit baby's body in there, and then you can work out how much to wrap the blanket around, so you probably won't need everything you've got. So if you don't, just trim some away. You can be very, very rough. Now if you paint baby's body in glue everywhere you want the blanket to stick, so it's the same principle as making a child's birthday card. Wherever you put the glue, the glitter will stay. So it's the same with this. So before we wrap the blanket around, we're going to put the baby's head in. Now I've painted some detail on the head. The best way to do this is using dust colours and rejuvenated spirit, which is just like an alcohol. It evaporates really quickly. That's a dust colour, and that's a rejuvenated spirit there. You just mix them together with a couple of drops in a paint palette and they turn into a nice consistency. Now for the eyelashes and the eyebrows, I've used a food pen. They've got one thick end and one thin end, and they're really useful for doing things like that if you're not confident with painting. And then I've just dusted a little bit of pink on the cheeks just to give it a nice rosy flush. So you'll press the head into the body, and then if you paint some glue around the head as well, so that blanket's going to stay there. And just begin wrapping the blanket around. Trim some up if you've got a bit too much. So you do have to just keep manoeuvring around. You can pleat it as much as you need to, and then trim away any excess bits. And if you just smooth your finger over them, that'll get rid of the rough edges. Now you can add on some little toes to the feet, just by rolling tiny, tiny balls of paste. Putting some glue on the top of the foot, and then adding the toes where you can see the foot. And if you want to, a little blonde curl of hair as well. So for that, you just take a bit of yellow paste. If you roll it out one end, so you've got a really thin end and a thicker end, pinch it up, and then you can just twist it round. Get some glue on top of the head, and then stick the curl in place. And then there you've got the marzipan baby in a blanket, which works really, really well on a christening cake. And if you want to advance further, you can do things like Granny sitting on her chair.